Hi peaches, it's Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another video. Are you sitting all comfy? Have you grabbed your cuppa? Because today we are going to be taking a look at Entitled Parents. Oh yes! This has become a popular series on this channel. It's very similar to the Am I the Drama stuff we do, so I kind of understand why. I always try with these videos. It's the reason that I started these videos, to ensure that there was a good level of learning from storytelling. That's genuinely why I love doing the majority of videos that go on this channel. I feel like we can learn so much from the storytelling of others, and I feel like with Am I the Drama, there's like a good even balance, you know, between how much we're learning and how spicy it is. With Entitled Parents, I feel like if this is spiciness level and this is learning level, it's maybe like a bit whoop. It's okay to be a little juicy once in a while. So if you're ready, let's dive deep into Entitled Parents. Ooh, I went to the supermarket with my mother, says OP. I was about to unload the groceries onto the cashier's table from the supermarket basket when my mum stopped me. She wanted me to put them back so that the cashier could unload them herself. Okay, based on the word cashier alone, I'm assuming this is in the US. Am I understanding this correctly? And when you say cashier's table, like you have a basket of groceries, you've gone to put it on the conveyor belt, and your mum's gone, no, don't do that. It's their job. Is that the norm in the States? Because that is certainly not the norm here in the UK. From my understanding of Gilmore Girls and all the sort of like romantic and fantasized small town living, bag boys are a thing in the States. I don't know if they're actually a thing or if it's just like a thing in the movies that makes it look like it's an American thing. But here in the UK, well, I say here in the UK, I'm sure there are some shops, like the bougie shops, that definitely do that, but most of the supermarkets, you bag your own groceries, babe. Sometimes, if there's like a volunteer campaign, there can be a bunch of school kids standing at the end. It's like so not a regular position. It's not like a job that they're hired to do. It's totally volunteering. They stand there and they're like, I will bag your groceries and you will donate to this pot of charity. And then they'll very clumsily and heavily drop your eggs into a bag and you're like, oh, I should have just done it myself. But it's such a rarity and it's only at the end, so definitely not the beginning. So just providing some context there, but let's read on. I instantly snapped and it ruined my mood. Am I easily triggered? Since I was a kid, whenever I went grocery shopping with her, we always bickered about things. Many things seem to upset and annoy me. What do you think her reasoning is? Does she subtly feel entitled? In this place, it's common for the cashier to unload the groceries from a handheld basket. Ah, so it is a common thing. Wow. But the one we currently use is one with wheels, so the design isn't suitable for putting it on the cashier's table as it's big and it's awkward. This kind of little thing, her nagging on me or asking or helicoptering me, makes me snap. Sorry, I've just had a thought. I was thinking of these like long supermarket conveyor belts, right? Which are like, normally the cashier is sitting behind a desk and then there's like some form of screen and there's these little things on this slider that they push up and it separates the groceries, and there's always a couple of people ahead of you in the queue, right? So you unload your own groceries. It would be bananas to think that a cashier would come out from their position, walk around, bend down, put stuff on, and then walk all the way back around to sit in their little like control panel mastermind area and beep everything, you know? That's the viewpoint I was coming at it from. However, if what you're talking about is like a little basket that goes right up next to them and they just pick things up to beep and move it across, that's different. But that's not unloading it, right? Because then there's no space to put it. Like, surely then you would just be handing every single item to the cashier to beep. Which makes sense why you then walk to the other side and do the whole bag thing. Have I just made this like infinitely more complicated than it needed to be because my brain is not working very well right now? Maybe. OP continues to ask, do you think she exhibits entitlement or am I easily triggered? Whenever she does this, my instant reaction is to snap, and if not, my mood is completely ruined. I disdained her little comments or nagging. She makes me frustrated like a child. Oh, OP. I feel this. I feel like a lot of people will be able to relate to this as well, and I feel like often it's this generational divide. It's the idea of this boomer that's like, no, this person's been paid. Like this level of confidence that comes across as so rude to me personally, but to them it does not come across that way at all. They're just like, no, I'm entitled to do this. It's what they're here to do. They're here to help enhance my experience. They're getting paid for it, so why would I do it? This is giving off the same vibes to me as, you know, like when you're in a restaurant, you've finished eating all your food and the waiting staff are taking things away. My I don't know, instinctual reaction is to pile the plates up and to pass it to them. I don't have to do that. I'd never do it in my own home. It's an ADHD thing, but I feel an obligation to help them out because otherwise I'm just sitting there awkwardly like, as people are around me just like cleaning up. It just feels weird. And sometimes there are some people that I can definitely see and know that if I go out with them, they'll be like, oh, don't do that. And they'll even say it like in front of the waiting staff. Don't do that. It's their job. It's not your job. And I'm like, just melting on the inside. Here's my take on this whole thing. This to me isn't about bags. This isn't about loading or unloading things, baskets on the floor, baskets on the counter, conveyor belt, whatever setting you are in. It's about values. It's about this feeling of either going out of your way to help or going out of your way to accept help, right? And if I'm being really honest, I don't think either of them are objectively wrong. Depending on who you are, I can see it from both perspectives. What is unfortunate is when there is a conflict between those perspectives, but at the end of the day, if after you've said, hey, I personally don't like it, I like to help, right? And you've communicated in a kind and healthy way that, hey, maybe it comes across as a little bit rude to not help. Yes, sure, you're not getting paid and they are getting paid, but what is the harm in helping? Isn't it a nice community thing to be able to help? If you've said all of this and they still want to act in a way that's different to how you would act, it is not your job to change them, just like it is not their job to change you. I would not expect this boomer person from the generation above me who has these views to like physically restrain me and not allow me to pass these plates on and help the serving staff. It's about autonomy. It's always about autonomy. You just need to do what you want to do, right? And this sense of anger, I see it often. I experience it often, but there is no point in getting so angry about things that you're getting angry about that other people are not getting angry about. It's taken me years and years and years of therapy to understand this. It's not linear either. There are times where it still catches me out, but it is fact that there are situations that I get myself so worked up about and I'm like, I am annoyed on someone else's behalf. I am annoyed at this, but no one else seems to be annoyed and no one else is going to change. The only outcome is me getting more and more annoyed. I guess what I'm trying to say is perhaps it's both. Perhaps there absolutely is a level of entitlement. Perhaps it's earned entitlement. We may not see it that way, but I don't know what it's like to be 60 or 70 or 80, and all of these people who are generations above are just like, you know what, Shaaba, when you grow up, you'll learn to just not give a damn. That's why apparently old shoppers are so annoying, because they have earned the right through life to go slow. There is no law that suggests that you have to do things really quickly. Do you see what I mean? Like, there's no rule to suggest that you have to help the cashier in this situation. And if it's voluntary, you can't be mad at someone for not doing it. That's what I mean by deserved entitlement. It might not feel nice, but it's perfectly within your prerogative to not want to help. Similarly, it might be that you are in some ways too easily triggered in these situations because the only person that you're hurting is yourself and not other people. Does it make it wrong for you to be triggered? No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is it's not going to help change anyone. So sometimes we need to think, why are we doing it? Oh my gosh. I feel like the kind of person that me pre-therapy would listen to and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? That is such terrible advice. We need to change it right now. That is the reality. That is how you don't have grey hairs on your head. And importantly, stay in your lane, because we do unto others what we expect ourselves. And I sure as hell wouldn't want somebody else stepping out their lane to tell me to not do the things that I enjoy doing. What do you think, my loves? I feel like that's quite a controversial opinion to start. And I also feel like I've turned like what is seemingly a very small and trivial issue into something much wider and a matter of principle. But isn't everything? Let me know your thoughts. Get your juicy little butts downstairs in the comment section. Let's have a chat. Just remember, be kind. That's one thing that we do owe to everybody. That isn't their job. Their job is to ring it up and bag it. You do the rest. Their job is to help the customer, right? This idea of like the customer is always right. Oh, that irritates me a lot, because that is not the case. That doesn't mean that the customer can therefore abuse and, you know, like disrespect their position just because of profit gain. And whilst I can respect where this comment is coming from, it still doesn't help OP. But I don't think it changes or helps OP process how they feel. I shop 3 to 5 different grocery stores each month, says someone else. None of them offload my groceries from the cart. Aldi and Lidl. These are supermarket stores that I recognize. Aldi and Lidl definitely are not doing this, especially since they don't buy the groceries. Oh my goodness. This mum would be shooketh if she came to an Aldi in the UK. I don't know if Aldis are like this in multiple places. Fun fact, I did shifts at Aldi. This is how I know, like, their staff are so incredibly, like, well trained. I'm saying Aldi as well, and I can just hear some of my friends being like, it's Aldi, you idiot. I don't know. They pay a substantially higher rate per hour. And I remember a lot of students being like, oh my God, I'm so attracted to this. Like, why? The reason why is you're expected to do a lot more. You have to memorize different codes because everything is so streamlined. Like, it makes sense. It's a very well-oiled machine, but a lot is demanded of you as a tiny little cog in said machine. And this is absolutely true. It's one of the cases. You are actually timed. Managing staff would give you quotas of how many items you had to beat through within a specific time. time. And if you didn't do it, there would be like repercussions. You wouldn't get fired, but like you are not supposed to take a long time. The whole thing is like the McDonald's fast food model. It's like fast, fast, fast. And that means that you can't, as a customer, be bagging up your groceries on the other side. You're literally expected to push the trolley back, put it all back in your basket or your trolley, and then take it to this like special counter, kind of like at airport security. You know when like you empty your things and you go through and then you take your trays somewhere else. You don't do it at the belt because you'd annoy all the other people and there'd be a big like clog up. You take it somewhere else where you can then take your time to load your groceries properly, or in an airport, put all your belongings back in your pockets. And so yes, can totally relate to this comment. And if this mum had to do the Olympic sport of Aldi shopping as a customer, I don't think she'd be very happy at all. I'm gonna go 3 out of 10 chilies for this one. Before we move on to another peaches, could I ask that you kindly take a look down there and let me know if you are subscribed? If you're not, perhaps you want to consider subscribing. It's totally fine if you don't want to. There is no judgment whatsoever. About half the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. I'm not sure if it's like a very conscious thing or not. So I thought I'd let you know because it really helps me out if you are able to press that little button to subscribe to the channel. We can still be friends even if you don't want to. It's fine. All right, let's continue. Karen wants my seat for her kid. Ooh. Hi all. I love it when an OP provides an introduction. It's just so sweet. I'd like to say that I didn't think this sort of thing happened where I'm from. I'm from England. But here we are. Just the idea British people would not experience entitlement is like so British to me. To be shocked, to be like, oh, I am appalled. Today, I had a late appointment with the midwife and I couldn't seem to get an Uber. I was waiting for almost 20 minutes for a driver. Oh, goodness. So annoying when this happens. What's worse is when you think you've got an Uber and you see the little car. It's like coming towards you. Then all of a sudden, it gets cancelled. And the little car drives away and you're like, no. So decided to get the bus. Nice to know that that was a mistake, the whole Uber thing. Okay, getting on the bus was normal and I sat at the front of the bus in a single seat next to the window. Single seat. Okay, sure. Still panicking about being late for my appointment. That was until the next step where a mother got on with her older kid and younger kid. The older kid got on just fine and went to find a seat, but as the bus started moving, someone tapped my shoulder and I looked down to see the younger kid. Young kid says, "Can I sit here?" An OP says, "Sorry bud, it's a bit difficult for me to move right now." Younger kid says, "Why?" An OP says, "Because of my big belly. I've got a baby," pointing to the stomach. Hang on, so where have you sat? I'm confused. I sat at the front of the bus in a single seat next to the window. So the kid is wanting your seat? Is that right? I'm feeling like it's important to clarify because I know sometimes on public transport, people like there's like 2 seats. If there's like a window here, there are 2 seats here before like an aisle and a walkway. And sometimes people sit here because they don't want to shimmy in. So I would understand that. But if the kid is just like, I want to sit where you're sat, that's a bit rude of the kid. The young kid says, "There's a baby hiding in your belly." This is adorable. And OP says, "Yes, but he'll be here next month." And the young kid says, "Okay, thanks." He then walked over to his mum who sat in a double seat. So there are other seats on the bus and the kid is sat with the mum, which kind of makes more sense, but whatever. I sighed and I looked out the window and began to text my friends and then remembered that I need to call the doctors that I was going to be late. Pregnancy brain. That's like a real thing. We worry about that bridge when we cross it. Okay. As I was pulling up the doctor's number, says OP, the mum began to talk to the person behind her loudly about rude and lazy teens. Oh no, she didn't. And how no one likes to be kind to kids nowadays. I thought you were very kind. You had a cute little conversation. You mentioned the whole belly thing. Now, I'm not very comfortable with confrontation, says OP. However, with all my bundled pregnancy hormones, I've been a lot better at speaking up for myself. So I sighed and I turned her as she glared at me and loudly began. Mum says, "So are you going to let my kid sit down yet?" I said, "There are plenty of seats on the bus. I'm sure he can sit wherever, but I can't exactly move right now, especially whilst the bus is moving." Totally understandable, especially if you're pregnant. Dude, Mum says, "See what I mean?" Turning to the poor guy behind her again. Lazy teens. Could you imagine being that guy? If that were me, I'd be like, don't try and implicate me in your entitlement. No, get it in the bin. OP said, "I'm not lazy, just heavily pregnant." And the mum said, "You're not pregnant. You just look fat to me." No, that's just rude. That's fatphobic and it's rude. The audacity for someone to say, as you are pregnant, you're not pregnant. Like, who does that? OP says, "I was in a large hoodie." Don't try and justify it. You don't have to be showing to be pregnant. This is just ridiculous. This is like, oh, well, you don't look disabled to me. Like, what is wrong with some people? Stupidity. Still, Opie says I was in a large hoodie, but even with that, you could tell that I had a lovely belly sticking out in an impressive way. Honestly, in some tops I look ridiculous. I'm sure you look wonderful. I am pregnant, says Opie. I'm also due next month, so I can't afford any accidents so late in my pregnancy. At this point, the mum pointed at me in disgust. Kids your age shouldn't be getting pregnant. That's disgusting. Who is this Karen? Opie said, not that you need to know, but I'm 24. How is that disgusting? Also, like, oh, it's frustrating me slightly. It's not Opie's fault. It's fine. It's frustrating me that Opie's like providing excuses. The mom just shouldn't be saying these things. Who are you? Who are you? Mum then says, there's no way you're 24. You are way too small. Stop lying. Oh, so now you don't know you're pregnant. And you don't know your age, but the stranger on the bus can tell you all about yourself, don't worry. I'm sure if you squat and cough, she'll be able to tell you the circumference of your butthole too. Like, what is wrong with this lady? Opie, again, bless, tries to describe and justify this to us by saying, yes, I'm pretty short for my age, but 5'4", for anyone wanting to know. It's feeling very passively attacked right now. I'm 5'3" and a bit. I am average for my height. And I'm older than this. Very rude. I'm going to disregard it because you've not been treated very well. Pregnancy brain, that's what I'm going to put it down to. You watch yourself. At this point, I just ignored her and called up the doctor with her complaining loudly in the background. My lord. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why we don't take buses. No, that's a joke. We should absolutely be taking public transport where we can. But people should not be acting like this. This is a ridiculous level of entitlement. I feel sorry for her kids. I would not be surprised if the older kid was way at the back of the bus knowing exactly what this mom was like and being like, oh my god, she does this often. I do not want to be anywhere near her. I'm gonna disappear. Maybe that's why the young kid didn't want to sit with her. I was like, oh, B, can I sit with you instead? This is not the one. I'm gonna give that a good 7 out of 10 chilies. Shall we see if we can find another? I don't know if we want to. Entitled mother tells my mum to handle her kids. I'm 17. My mum, 41, took me out to get makeup the other day for a friend whose birthday is coming up. We entered the store and all was going very well. I was checking out concealers whilst my mum was on the other side of the shop looking through various shades of lipsticks. This reminds me, I need a new lip gloss. I hope I remember at the end of this video. Enter entitled mother, late 20s with her devil spawn. The picture is painted. I say devil spawn because her kids were misbehaving wildly and she didn't bother even once to tell them to stop or something. Not even a minor rebuke. What does rebuke mean? To express sharp disapproval or criticism because of behavior actions. Right. Not even a scolding, not even a telling off. Hashtag learning. They were running wildly around the shop, throwing testers around and being a general nuisance. Oh no. Testers are problematic at the best of times. When there are kids involved, you know not to touch those things. It's like samples in a shop and you're like, oh, but a kid was just there in front of me. If there's 10 cubes of cheese, you know none of them are going to have their grubby little germs all over it. My mum stepped in when the kids started poking their slimy little fingers into the lipstick testers. I get it, they're just testers, but ew. Yes, they are publicly accessible, but there are still conventions on what you are supposed to do. They are used to make tiny swatches, not to go blah, 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 by kids who have no intentions of buying the makeup. That is just odd. Why has no one from the store stepped in? That is my question at this point. But let's read on. People are likely going to use these to decide whether they like the shade or not, and goodness knows where those fingers have been, says OP. Like one of them was legitimately picking his nose minutes ago. Babe, I think that's probably going to be the least of your problems. But we move. My mum, having 4 kids of her own, looked around to find their parent. Entitled mother was the only one in the shops besides us. My mum called out to her, and this is how the conversation went. My mum says, excuse me, are these kids yours? And OP says, I know it's very obvious, but my mum's a very polite person, so it's not odd to me. Oh, that's not odd to me either. I swear I was a little bit confused. I was like, huh? But you're saying that because although it's clear that it was her kids, that was a sense of politeness. For me, that's just a sense of being like, I'm establishing that this is the case because I'm trying to say that you need to keep them in check without saying that you need to keep them in check. Entitled mum said, yeah. My mum then said, can you please tell them to stop touching the testers? They're not toys. And Entitled mum said, if it's such a problem, why don't you handle them? Because they're your kids? You parent for me. You, stranger, enforce your sense of discipline because I'm not gonna do it. What? This is already a good 7 on the chili scale. Higher, I think, because I'm just confused. Like, I would never, ever expect someone else, like, you don't know what their sense of handling them would be to my child. Like, I would worry for my kid's safety to suggest that a stranger handles them. Oh boy, my mum left the shop for a few minutes and signalled me to not follow her. She then came back with 2 buff security guards in tow. Good mum, good mum, good move. The kids were still poking their fingers in the testers and the guards walked up to the kids and in the deepest baritone ever, one asked, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" I'm sorry that is the deepest that I can go. The kids looked terrified. Cue the waterworks, and entitled mum immediately stormed over and began reprimanding the guards for scaring her poor widow angels. She then saw my mum nearby. "You did this!" At this point, she was practically hissing like a cat. "How dare you teach me how to parent?" "Excuse me, entitled mother, you just told her to handle your kids." Mum then said in an eerie monotone, "You told me to handle them, hence I handled them." Your mum is amazing. I love this. She screamed more obscenities at my mum, the guards, anything around really. The lipsticks probably. But the guards weren't having it and told her to leave. She created quite a scene. But thank everything that is holy that she left. Whoa. Big brownie points to your mum, because that is the way to handle this situation. You politely say, "Hey, are these your kids?" And the right response would be, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Timothy and Chalamet, get your asses here right now." But no, that isn't what happened. And so the mum didn't antagonize things further by putting them in her own hands, but pass it on to personal authority. Yes, 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 yes. I'm gonna go 9 chilies and 3 brownies, because 1 just does not feel like enough. All right, should we do one more? I'm enjoying this video. Let's do one more. Oh, this one's called All Because of Mushrooms. It's giving me Scooby-Doo. You know when they're like, "And it's all because of you meddling mushrooms." When I was 7, says OP, my stepsister and I were friends with this girl who was living with her grandparents. Let me just say that I think the grandfather was old school, because every morning at 8 a.m. he would lock her and her 4-year-old brother out to go and play, but no one was up at that time. 8 a.m. That is early. Wow. The grandma, however, she's a different story, which led us to this. It was a girl's birthday, and of course we were invited. After a few hours of fun, it was dinner time, and the grandmother cooked hamburger helper with mushrooms. What is hamburger helper with mushrooms? It's a packaged food product manufactured by Eagle Foods. As boxed, it's a dried carb with powdered seasonings contained in a packet. Oh, so it's like pasta and sauce. It's dried macaroni with what looks like cheese. Where does the hamburger come in? I'm so confused. Oh, is it because there's like little bits of dried beef in it? Jamie and I used to make something kind of similar to this, I think, based on the photos. But we used to call it beefaroni because it was like macaroni cheese with mincemeat. Hamburger helper. Every day is a school day. A hamburger helper with mushrooms. I didn't like mushrooms, says OP. So I ate everything but the mushrooms, and she did not like this. As I was getting up with everybody else to go home, she sat me back down and told me to finish my plate. I sheepishly told her that I don't like mushrooms, to which she responded, "You are not leaving this house until you eat them." So she kidnapped you in the name of mushrooms is what I'm hearing. Again, you just don't discipline someone else's kids. Who does this? Wait a minute. If it concerns their safety and in the moment it is a good idea for you to discipline that kid in order to stop that dangerous thing from happening. Say a kid's about to put their hand on a hot stove. Then you don't just let it happen because you're like, "Well, I'm not the mum." You say, "Excuse me, don't do that." You go hurt yourself. Fair. If you're going to say, "Hey, I really think you should eat your mushrooms," that's okay. But you don't force them. Like, you don't do things that are so extreme to discipline other people's kids. Right now, she was in a duty of care, but you still shouldn't be doing things that go beyond the jurisdiction of what, like, a babysitter would do, you know? And what you should be saying is, "I really think you should eat your mushrooms." And if the kid's like, "No," and you still have a problem with it, then you tell their parents afterwards and be like, "Hey, look, the kid didn't eat their mushrooms. My stepsister was allowed to leave." So she went home, grabbed our dad to come and rescue me because this woman was practically holding me hostage. I was saying that as a joke, but like, legit, you were. I wasn't allowed to her house after that. Babe, I wouldn't consider that a bad thing. As a child, as a person, right? Like, you should be allowed to some extent to have some autonomy and decision over what you eat. Maybe it's because I've been looking a lot into like Montessori parenting and just this idea that we're raising adults, right? Like, the idea is you need to be autonomous. I'm sure there are things that grandma wouldn't like, and it just feels so unfair that just because of her age, she is allowed to not eat them because she doesn't cook them. But you, who happens to be a guest there, must eat things just because it was put in front of you, even though you had no choice in what was put in front of you. No, 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 no. I've never understood adults who force kids to eat stuff that they don't like. For me, if somebody was not eating at all, I would be like, "Hey, you should really eat," right? Like something. I would definitely encourage someone who wasn't eating enough to eat. I would also encourage someone who was like, "I don't like it." If they haven't tried it, yeah, I think that would probably be my rule. "Hey, babe, why don't you try it once? Child of mine, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to eat it afterwards. That's totally fine, but like, you should probably give something a go before you like pass a judgment, you know?" I don't know. I feel like that would be boundary. But yeah, just this idea of like forcing people to eat things knowing that they don't like it is just so bizarre to me. I don't like turnips. I wouldn't expect anyone to force feed me turnips. Like if I went to an adult dinner party with a friend and they were like, you will not leave my house until you eat your turnips, I'm not doing that. So why do we put kids through that? It's just weird. Someone else says, I imagine it's a combination of the Great Depression mentality of eat what you can because you don't know if you can eat it later, and elders knows best. I mean, sure, but you don't have the same taste buds, babe. My parents had only 3 rules for eating. One was you can take what you want, but you had to eat what you took. Fair. I mean, sometimes you can accidentally take too much. I mean, like if you can put it in a Tupperware afterwards, I don't see the problem. 2, you had to eat one of the veggies that were on the table. That feels like a healthy rule. Veggies are an important part. I feel like I still have this challenge with Jamie, who doesn't like many vegetables. So even with mushrooms, like I have to dice them really, really tiny and put them in like a spag bowl. So he can't be bothered to take them out. That's fine to leave them. To be fair, it's a textural thing for him. So we'll excuse that one. And 3, you had to try a new food at least once. See, like I feel like this is reasonable. But if you didn't like it, you didn't have to eat it again. Yeah, that feels right. Right? I learned to swallow peas whole, and that's what I do now when I'm served things I don't like calamari. Oh. No, that's not okay. But I'm confused because surely if you're served calamari, by your rules, unless you took a whole bunch of calamari, you shouldn't have to eat a whole bunch of calamari. Do you know what I mean? Like you could try a tiny piece of calamari. You don't have to swallow calamari whole. That's like a huge choking hazard. Also, I feel like peas would also be dangerous. Someone else has just said I swallow peas whole too. I thought it was just me. It's certainly not me. Do you swallow your peas whole, Peaches? I don't know why my voice is so high. I don't know, it just feels dangerous. Eating should not be a stunt. Oh. Anyway, what are we rating this? Yeah, this is pretty bad. I'm gonna call it like a 6 on the scale. No, 7. You weren't allowed to leave. That's bad grammar. But there you go. That is it for today's episode of Entitled Parents. Have you learned anything? Don't force feed your kids mushrooms. If you enjoyed this video, my loves, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you next time with another video. Be kind and have a great day. Bye.